My name is Christian Liedtke. I'm currently a professor at the Technical University of Munich. I was born in Göttingen. I also studied in Göttingen and in Warwick University in England. Then I came to do a PhD at the Max Planck Institute in Bonn. Then I traveled around a little bit. I was an assistant in Düsseldorf, postdoc at Stanford, then even again for a short time back in Bonn. And after that, I was appointed to Munich, where I'm still. I'm interested in geometry and algebra, so not surprisingly, I ended up in algebraic geometry. So regarding the journey I made, I think it wasn't totally clear where I would end up in the end. I started sort of in university, you attend lectures, and then I was drawn to this more algebraic aspects. I worked a lot on algebraic surfaces and the classification of them. More recently, some projects related to singularities and representation theory, so I was trying to explore new fields and to learn new things. It was sort of, I came here as a PhD student. I was a little bit intimidated by the place. All these famous people, and but then it was a very friendly atmosphere. There was so much going on. It even is going on all the time. You learned a lot, and of course, you get a problem to work on, you don't understand a word of what you're supposed to do, and then after some time you have some very vague ideas. I still remember at some point I went to my advisor's, Gerd Faltings' office. I had a plan prepared, like what I wanted, sort of a strategy of how I could attack the problem, and then it was like 5 steps or so. He looked at it and he immediately told me that the first 3 steps are trivial, the 4th probably doable, and the 5th was wrong. And that was a couple of months' work. It was intimidating, but he was also right. But that's, I think, the kind of thing one has to learn, and then of course you think about it, and in the end, something interesting came out of it. I think this is a difficult question, and something I always have to tell myself is that what worked for me may not work for other people. So, people are different, and people have to sort of also find where they are good at and where they are not so good at. At least this was the case for me. So this was also why I was traveling a lot and why I was sort of at different places, sort of to see. There is some type of mathematics where I'm not so good at, and you have to learn what are your strengths, because this is where you most likely will be successful. And then also, it was always important for me to hear my gut feeling, whether I think yes, I think I want to do this, or I should not do this. Because sometimes it's hard to tell, because everybody has always advice, and then like this person says this person says that, but then in the end you have to do it. So so the advice would be that you should follow your own gut feeling and see whether you're comfortable with the things you're doing or not. Well, I never had this feeling that I would jump naked out of the bathtub and run through the streets as in the legend. It was more like that you had like a feeling that something might work, and then you got more and more excited. And then, of course, you have to calm down again and try to make sure that you're not overshooting. So it was more like this. There were a couple of moments when you had like, oh, this might work. Oh, that looks interesting. Things sort of start coming together and start making sense. But I'm not sure whether I ever had one of these classical eureka moments, as you can also see it in Hollywood movies. And as for my students, they haven't told me whether they had these types of moments. Well, there were times when I would read a lot, when I was going on hikes. I mean, nothing fancy, just hikes, music. But then over the past years, my main hobby is my family. I mean, I have 2 small kids, and that's sort of, yeah, well, it's more than a hobby. Yeah. I mean, the advantage is, of course, that it's sort of much more accessible. During when I wrote my diploma thesis, I had to read some Italian articles, and I found this very difficult, spending much time, not only with the language, but also with the terminology. So in that respect, of course, it's great that things are more uniform and that you can read most of the sources. But then, yes, of course, I mean, it's fun to see that if you go to a library and if you look at the old articles from the 19th century, that there were these, German articles, and I mean, the French still write in French today, so.